Hello again and welcome back to another episode of Fly Day Fridays, the day of the week where we take a look at things that fly. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Cheerson CX-31. This is a very unique looking UFO style quadcopter which comes with 4 3-bladed props. Now I've used other quadcopters in the past with 3-bladed props and it seemed to make a bit of a difference in terms of performance, so very nice to see that on here. But anyway, when you open the box you're going to find the user manual, 2 spare props, 2 screwdrivers in a smaller and a larger size, a USB charging cable, the transmitter, which is a little bit large, but that's okay. It does have labeled buttons for the headless mode, the flips, and the different rates, so that's always appreciated. And the transmitter does take 4 AA batteries. And then finally, you'll find the quadcopter itself. Mine is the silver variant, but there is also a white one. When you flip it over, you'll find the battery door on the bottom, which is a bit of a weird size and shape, because the battery itself fits one way across the quadcopter, and then right in the middle there's this little section that juts out where you actually plug the battery in. And with all the cabling and wiring and everything, it can be a little bit weird to munge everything into the quadcopter, get the door to shut, and not have it poke up all over the place. But inside of that door you'll find a 500 mAh 3.7 volt battery, which if you look closely enough at it is actually the same kind of battery you'll find in the Syma X5C or in the FY326, which means that all of the batteries that I've got for the FY326 work in this, and the battery from this should work just fine in the FY326. Definitely a thumbs up there. As far as the flight times, with that 500 mAh battery, I've seen around 5-minute flight times, though if you were to upgrade to one of the batteries from the Syma or the FY326, you could probably see in the area of 6 or 7 minutes, because those are 600 to 650 mAh batteries. And just taking another quick look around the quadcopter before we move on, it does have LEDs all around the perimeter of this UFO style body. It has 4 blue LEDs in the front and 4 red LEDs in the rear. Makes it really easy to distinguish which way you're facing. And there's little tiny rubber feet on the bottom of the motor mounts here. These do come off pretty easily. Actually on day 1 I think I lost one of them, and then somehow about 3 days later it showed back up in my backyard, so woohoo! But anyway, with all of those LEDs around it, like I said, it's very easy to tell which way you're pointing, and it's decently bright, so you can very easily fly this in the dark if you wanted to. And as far as the controller is concerned, once you plug the battery into the quad, you turn the controller on and they should just pair to one another. You don't actually have to give it any stick input or anything. So let's move on to the flight review. This is an extremely smooth, very docile flyer. It does have 3 different rates, but the yaw rate stays the same with all of them, but increasing the rate of course increases the pitch that you can get. So you can have this really docile, beginner-friendly quadcopter that's completely covered in all of this UFO to make it easily protected for flying around indoors. Or you can increase it to the 3rd rate and have a little bit more fun flying around, although with all of that extra UFO stuff on there, it's not going to fly particularly well in the wind. I took it outside a few times and tried to fly it in the wind and it just didn't really want to do it. And as I mentioned earlier, it does have a headless mode built into it. It's very cool. Basically, when you hit the headless mode button, instead of just being in headless mode where you can, forward goes forward, back goes back, no matter what yaw you're at, instead, it starts spinning on its own. So you don't have to give it any stick input. You just keep the throttle up and then push it in what direction you want it to go, and it's constantly spinning. That's the UFO portion of it, because then in that headless mode, you can easily move around and have it constantly spinning. So it's a very creepy kind of effect, and I really like that. And additionally, again, going back to the whole beginner thing, if it's very docile and then you put it in that headless mode, it's a whole lot easier to introduce kids to it, because then all you have to do is control the throttle and let them control where it's going to go, and it's just going to spin the whole time, and they'll enjoy that. It does the flips as you would expect, although again, because of all of that additional UFO plastic on there, the flips can be a little bit rough. You really have to give it some throttle before you do a flip, otherwise it's going to lose a lot of altitude, it's going to fall. But as you can see from some of this footage, it does flip pretty well. Given that it does come with all that plastic on it, I didn't really figure it would flip really well, but it does do the job. Now I did have a couple of problems when using this. The first problem is that the props would just fly off. If I just barely touched the ground, the prop would just take off. And it's not like the prop would just fall off, it actually shoots the props up into the air. At first it was only the back 2 props, so I went ahead and replaced those with the 2 that are included, but then a 3rd one started coming off, so at this point, it's kind of hit or miss. I haven't really crashed much since the first day or so I haven't had that much of a problem with it, but it could be a problem. If you're constantly hitting the ground, it's possible that hitting the ground is going to make those props just shoot off. And the other problem, at least in my case, which is a much more significant problem, I think I have a bad transmitter, or at least something wrong with the transmitter. Maybe it's the antenna in the transmitter, I don't know. But when I get more than about 8 to 10 meters away, let's say 8 to 10 paces away, it drops out of the sky. it either completely freaks out and tries to take off and then drops, or it just flat out drops. As you can see from some of the footage I'm showing you here, at one case I had it flying in one of my bedrooms and I just walked down the hallway backwards away from it. So I had it sitting stationary, just flying level. So as I walked backwards, I just slowly started to lose control until finally, it just drops. And of course, what's the first thing that I did with this thing? I took it outdoors and I tried to fly it, and as soon as I got about 8 to 10 steps away from it, it would just plummet. Or it would take off and try to fly into the tree and then plummet. And there were a couple of times when I was experimenting with it in the bedroom that when I saw it start to drop, I would step forward very, very quickly and it would suddenly regain, and then I would step back and it would drop again, step forward, it would regain. So it's a weird little game you play with it, and that definitely is a range issue as far as mine is concerned. However, I've seen other videos. I know Quadcopter 101 has one. He made a video with it and he was able to fly it decently far away, easily the 30 meters that's advertised. So it probably is an issue with my transmitter. I don't have another one to test with it, unfortunately, although Frequent Flyer RC mentioned that it's compatible with the Skywalker protocol, and I don't know what transmitters actually use that protocol, so if I can figure it out, I may give this one another shot with that other transmitter. I've seen Frequent Flyer flying this with his Devo 7E modified transmitter, so that might be a worthwhile purchase for me, although it's a little bit high for me. So yeah, in my case, as long as I kept it close, this was a whole lot of fun to fly. It's especially fun to fly indoors, because again, you're not having to fight the wind at that case, and having that headless mode makes it just a little bit easier to control, so very handy for new users. Just a bit unfortunate that I do have some sort of an issue with my transmitter. Maybe I'll take it apart and see if I can figure out what it is. Maybe I'll modify it and see if I can extend the antenna or something. I don't know. I'll take a look at it though. If I do figure something out, I'll either put an annotation or I'll put it down in the video description, maybe leave a comment about it. If you have any idea what could be causing it, maybe I've missed something, maybe there's some sort of interference I don't know about, let me know down in the comments as well. But I've tried this inside my house, I've tried it in my garage, I've tried it out back. I haven't had any range issues out of any of the other ones I've tested so far. It just seems to be this one. But again, it is an awful lot of fun to fly, and it is a decently reasonable price. So I'll have a link to where you can find it over on GearBest. In case I forgot to mention it earlier, thanks again to GearBest for sending this out for review. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. Remember, hit that like button down below the video if you like this video, subscribe to receive more videos when they become available, and I will see you again next time.